With me in studio is MICHAL COTLER WUNSH, an Israeli TELEM party candidate. Thank you very much for joining me for this and introducing the new party to us, letting us know what we have on the table ahead of the elections. And on that note, you must have heard this since the elections were announced, unity within the parties of center and left. Where do you stand on that? Do you see that as a real option?
So I'll start by saying that unity has been something that Moshe Bogie Ya'alon has opted for and has worked towards since the beginning and since launching this specific campaign, believing very deeply that unity, political unity, is only a reflection of the unity that's really sorely missed in Israeli public today. And so that unity and that political unity, in whatever form it'll be, will only reflect what we hope for in terms of leading and our leadership. And Bogie Ya'alon has been the most experienced and the most unifying factor in that possibility of unifying uniting with other parties.
And in Israeli terms, do you think Ya'alon has, as we call here, a partner for unity? Because as we all know, the other leaders, the other options here on the table want to head a united party, want to secure seats there. Do you see that as viable?
So again, I can tell you that Moshe Bogie Ya'alon is coveted and sought after, and many of the parties are looking to unite with him. But I can also speak directly to what we are doing simultaneously, which TELEM party with him at the helm and with his leadership is very clear on the direction in which it intends to take the state of Israel in a responsible leadership, in a leadership that creates accountability and transparency and processes and 10-year plans and long-term planning, which is sorely missing in all of the internal issues that are most dividing and most challenging the state of Israel. And Moshe Bogie Ya'alon has said multiple times that it's not the external threats that worry him in terms of the challenges that the state of Israel faces, but rather the internal rifts. And the mosaic of Israeli society needs the leadership that will unite it.
And on that point, I wonder what you make of that report of Benny Gantz's party releasing this poll showing that if they were to join Yair Lapid, they would probably get bigger chances, but it might hurt the bloc. Do you have the same concerns?
So once again, I'm not so much, and we are not so much as a party at the moment dealing with the bloc. We are promoting a very specific leader with very specific values, and we believe that he presents a real alternative to the current leadership. Whoever would like to unite and together with Moshe Bogie Ya'alon in whatever constellation they'll decide, because for Bogie Ya'alon, it's not a personal thing. This is about the state of Israel, and it's about taking it to the next level of leadership, to a completely different form of leadership from the one that we're familiar with, a leadership that is honest, and a leadership that is dignified, and a leadership that speaks to all and for all. And so I'm really not preoccupied with polls at the moment, because TELEM is creating its path, and anybody who would like to join that path is welcome to do so.
Well, let's bring in our diplomatic correspondent, Mike Wagenheim. He's there joining us from the INSS conference. And Mike, let's discuss first those comments made by Roni El-Sheikh. It seems like an escalation in the rhetoric that he is pointing towards the Prime Minister.
I don't know if it's anything that he's really hasn't said in the past. Of course, he was the police commissioner that made the recommendations to indict the Prime Minister on a number of corruption charges, so it's no big surprise that he would come out months later and say, yeah, I think the evidence is there to indict him, and I'd be surprised otherwise. I think it's only common sense at this point. But the fact that he is airing his public comments at a very sensitive time of the investigation, of course, gives the Prime Minister ammunition to come back and say what he's claimed all along, that the results of the investigation were preordained in some sense, that it's been known for quite some time that these charges and these indictments are eventually going to come, and that the whole process was tainted from the beginning. However, that hasn't stopped Police Commissioner El-Sheikh from commenting publicly. It didn't stop Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit from giving a television interview last week on the subject. It seems like it just gives the Prime Minister and his associates more ammunition in the end, which of course adds to all the fiery rhetoric going back and forth.
Mike, if you were listening to our conversation in studio, we began to discuss Benny Gantz and his new party. He's supposed to make an announcement tomorrow, and as difficult a question as that is to pose to you, because he hasn't said much this far, what can we expect?
million-dollar question. I mean, it was funny but sad in a way when Benny Gantz's campaign announced that he would hold his launch event coming up tomorrow night. The first question was from the media was, when is he going to speak? Which any other candidate, of course he's going to speak, but with Benny Gantz, we just didn't know for sure. I would imagine he will talk in platitudes tomorrow. I doubt he's going to give any specific platform points after not talking all this time. I doubt he's going to get into detail about what his plans would be as prime minister. Will probably be more of a rah-rah, Israel first, as his slogan goes, Israel before everything mentality. Probably give a list of his particular achievements and generalities about why he would be the preferred candidate as prime minister and why his party would be the preference for voters. If we even get that, I think we'll probably be fortunate. Very, very broad-based platitudes I think Benny Gantz will be speaking in coming up tomorrow night.
And we'll be live tomorrow on Daily Dose to follow that and see what Benny Gantz has to say. Mike, thank you. I want to go back for one more question before we wrap. Of course, you realize worries about the threshold are very common now, and it seems like, or at least to certain polls, it seemed like the TELEM party might struggle to pass the threshold. What do you make of this difficulty?
So I'll just clarify, that is not the sense at all that we get from the public. The Israeli public is a politically savvy public, and I think actually there's a reflection and a deep need for a unifying force and unifying, but authentic unifying leadership, experienced leadership, which Bogi Ya'alon provides. And the sense that we get is that there is a lot more support out there than maybe some of the polls that you're seeing. I'm seeing other information. And in fact, the little bit of that we spoke about before, about the possibility of uniting with others, I think that clarifies, if they're all wanting to unite, then the tremendous strength of the candidacy of Bogi Ya'alon at the helm of the TELEM party.
And it's 2.5 months away, and I'm sure a lot will change till then. MICHAL COTLER WUNSH, thank you very much for joining me for this.